The Tale of Jemima Puddle-duck by Beatrix Potter. What a funny sight it is to see a brother of a duckling with a hen. Listen to the story of Jemima Puddle-duck, who was annoyed because the farmer's wife would not let her hatch her own eggs. Her sister-in-law, Mrs. Rebecca, the Puddle-duck, was perfectly willing to leave the hatching to someone else. "I have not the paddies to sit on unless for the 28 days, and no more have you, Jemima. You would let them go, could you? You know you would." I wish to hatch my own eggs. I will hatch them all by myself," quacked Jemima Puddle-duck. She tried to hatch her eggs, but they were always found and carried off. Jemima Puddle-duck became quite desperate. She determined to make a nest right away from the farm. She set off a fine spring afternoon along the curved road that led over the hill. She was wearing a shawl and a poke bonnet. When she reached the top of the hill, she saw a wood in the distance. She thought that it looked a safe, quiet spot. Jemima Puddle-duck was not much in the habit of flying. She ran downhill a few yards, flapping her shawl, and then she jumped off into the air. She flew beautifully. When she had got a good start, she skimmed along over the treetops until she saw a tall, open place in the middle of the wood, where the trees or the bushwood had been cleared. Jemima alighted, watered heavily, and began to waddle about the search of other command. A dried nesting place, she rather fastened a tree stump amongst some tall foxgloves, but seated upon the stump, she was startled to find an incredibly dressed gentleman reading a newspaper. He had black prickly ears and sandy-colored whiskers. "Quack," said Jemima Puddle-duck, with her head and her bonnet on one side. "Quack." The gentleman raised his eyes above his newspaper, and looking cursorily at Jemima. "Madam, have you lost your way?" said he. He had a long bushy tail which he was sitting upon at the top of was somewhat damp. Jemima thought him mighty crippled and handsome. She explained that she had got lost her way, but then that she was trying to find the conveniently dried nesting place. "Ah, is that so indeed?" said the gentleman with the sandy whiskers, looking cursorily at Jemima. He folded her up the newspaper and put it in his coattail pocket. Jemima complained of the sportful hand. Indeed, how interesting! I wish I could meet with that fellow. I would teach it to mind its own business. But as to honest, there is no difficulty. I have a sackful of the feathers in my wood shed. No, my dear madam, you will be in as long as you like, said the bushy long-tailed gentleman. He led the way to the ferry. The trio retired dismayed looking house among the photographs. It was a beautiful progress and tough, and there were the two broken piles, and one on the top of another by the way of a chimney. This is my summer, the reddest. You would not find my earth. My wider the house so the convict, said the hoppest of table the gentleman. Said the hoppest gentleman. There was a tumble down the shed at the back of the house, made of old soap box. The gentleman opened the doors and showed Jemima in. The shed was almost quiet, full of feathers. It was almost flattering, but it was comfortable and very soft. Jemima Puddle-duck was rather surprised to find such a vast quantity of feathers, but it was very comfortable, and she made a nest without mind troubled at all. When she came out, the sandy-whiskered gentleman was sitting on a log reading the newspaper. At last he had in the spread out, but he was looking over the top of it. He was to suppose that he examined almost the story to let Jemima go home for the night. He promised to take great care of her nest until she came back again the next day. He said he loved the eggs and the ducklings. He should be proud to see the fine nest folded in his wood shed. Jemima Puddle-duck came every afternoon. She laid 9 eggs in the nest. They were germinated white and very large. The foxy gentleman turned them over the coat then when Jemima was not there. At last Jemima told him that she intended to begin to sit next day. And I will bring a bag of quarter with meat so that I need never leave my nest until the eggs are hatched. They might catch cold, said the coasted Jemima. Madam, I beg you not to trouble yourself with a bag. I will provide oats, but before you come back, you're the topic sitting. I intend to give you a treat. Let us have a dinner. The pretty old May I ask you to bring over some the herbs from the farm, the garden, to make a savory omelette, a surge of the turmeric, and mint, and 2 onions, and some parsley. I will provide the lard for the stuff, lard for the omelette, said the hopeless gentleman with the sandy whisker. Jemima Puddle-duck was the simply not even the maiden of a sedge or onion that made her the special. She ran around from the garden, nibbling of a snippet of all the different sorts of herbs that are used for stuffing the roast dog. At the waddled into the kitchen and got 2 onions out of a basket. The collie dog kept her coming out. What are you doing with those onions? Where do you go every afternoon by yourself? Jemima Puddle-duck? Jemima was rather in the away of the collie. She told him the whole story. The collie listened with his whiskers head on the one side. He grinned when she disbanded the policeman gentleman with the sandy whisker. He asked several questions about the wood and about the exact question of the house and the shed. Then he went out and toured down the village. He went to look for 2 fox-headed pumpkins who were out at the walk with the Beatrix. Jemima Puddle-duck went off the garden round for the last time. On a sunny afternoon, she was water burning a bunch of herbs and 2 onions in a bag. She flew over the wood and alighted opposite to the house of the bushy, large-tailed gentleman. He was sitting on a log. He sniffed the air and kept glancing on the side round the wood when Jemima alighted to quiet jump. Come into the house as soon as you have looked at your eyes. Give me those herbs for the omelette to be sure. He was rattled open. Jemima Puddle-duck had never heard him speak like that. She felt surprised and uncomfortable. While she was inside, she heard padding feet around the back of the shed. Someone with a black nose sniffing at the bottom of the door. And then looked at it. Jemima became much alarmed. A moment afterwards, there were the most awful noises: barking, bellowing, goring, howling, squeaking, and groans. And nothing more was ever seen of the foxy whiskered gentleman. Personally, keep open the door of the shed and let out Jemima Puddle-duck. Unfortunately, those puppies who rushed in and grumbled up all the eggs before he could stop them. He had a bite on his ears, but the puppies were leaping. Jemima Puddle-duck was escorted home in the tears, one added of those eggs. She let some more in the Jane, and she was determined to keep them herself. But only 4 of them hatched. Jemima Puddle-duck said that it was because of her nervous, but she had always been a bad sitter. The end. 다음에 만나요. Bye bye.